What's up, everybody? Jed Johnson here from dieselcrew.com. Of course, you know they call me Napalm. And today, I've got a video that I want to help people run contests because people reach out to me all the time. They're like, man, this grip sport is awesome. I want to grow grip in my area. I want to run a contest, but I don't know what events to run. So what I've done is I've outlined a grip contest which I feel is optimal. And I'm speaking for myself here because other people may disagree, okay? This also came about because Eric Hussein and I are working together to present information to help people out and try to, spur more growth in the grip community and help people run more contests. And he asked if I'd ever done one specifically on how to select events for a well-balanced contest, and I haven't. So that's how this all came together, and I took some notes here. I'm hoping that this note sheet will help me cover everything that I want to cover, although sometimes I still skip over stuff even though it's written down. So if after I cover this you have any questions, or if you want to ask me, hey, what about this lift? Where would this fit in, or something like that, then just leave a comment below. Don't email me, guys. I mean, you can, but put the questions below because it helps out the performance of my videos with the YouTube algorithm. So, do both. Leave a comment here and then go hit me on an email, and that way I can communicate with you best. But don't be afraid to leave a comment below. It really helps out the video's performance in my channel, because grip is not huge and it's not presented all over the place. So I'm really depending on people to show engagement in these videos. So if you have a question, type it in the comments section below and then email me. My email is jed.diesel@gmail.com. jedd.diesel@gmail.com. All right, so this is what I feel would be a well-balanced contest. And if you get a sheet of paper out, you can write this stuff down. So a well-balanced contest, I feel, is 4 or 5 events. You can do one with 3, and I guess, it would be 3 to 5 events. But for something, I guess if it's something where it's just a small area, you're just trying to introduce grip, yeah, 3 events would be good as far as a bare minimum. Something that's a little bigger where maybe you're expecting some more top-level competition, or if you're running nationals or a state championship or something like that, I think you want at least 4. And in my opinion, nationals should have 5 events. That's what I feel. So generally, you start out. Okay, so again, 5. Let's go with 5 event outline. Okay, so on your sheet, 1, then skip some space. 2, skip some space. 3. First event should be grippers. This is because grippers is a dynamic movement, and anything that you do prior to grippers is going to take strength off your top end. So I shudder. I absolutely shudder when I see contests with grippers at the end. To me, that makes absolutely no sense, and it does not matter if it's closing the gripper down for a max attempt or silver bullet. It just makes no sense in my opinion. That would be like doing a big strength contest, and at the very end you put snatch in there. Snatch needs to be first because it takes the most energy, the most muscles are involved, it's overhead, there's the biggest risk for injury, blah, 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 blah. So you got to have that in there first. Grippers needs to be first as well. It can be block set, where you set the gripper down, you swipe a block, and then you close it down, or it can be silver bullet. Those are the main 2 that we track, those 2 variations. Generally, the block set used is a 20 millimeter block, on occasion 30 millimeters. We just knocked a whole bunch of gripper events out of the top 100, and we've hidden those, we've retired those. So our main ones right now are block set, either 20 or 30 millimeters. And then we don't actually track silver bullet, but silver bullet is a rather common event. I saw on the grip board there was some discussion about starting to track it, but there's a lot of information that needs to be ironed out before we start tracking that. Let's not get off in the weeds about the events that are tracked. Grippers needs to be first, whether it's a block set for max, usually with 4 attempts, or silver bullet for a max hold, and you usually get 2 to 3 attempts. All right, the next two are somewhat interchangeable as far as the order, and that is your pinch event and your support event. Now, I can tell you for years and years, the pinch event was always the second event. It has been switched to the third event in some cases. I feel that to get the most out of the pinch, you want it to be the second event. So if you are trying to set the event up, if you're trying to set the competition up for competitors to lift their most maximal weight possible, then you want pinch second. But in reality, you know, the difference that it makes, I guess it just depends on, do you want your competitors to perform better at the support event or the pinch event? Is there someone that is, you know, in contention for a world record and you're trying to set it up to give them a better chance to break that record? Then in that case, put that event second. But I can tell you that for years and years, pinch was the second event. So let's go over some examples of pinch lifts. You have 2-hand pinch lifts and you have 1-hand pinch lifts. 2-hand pinch lifts examples would be Euro or Flask 2-hand pinch, and then you also have your Saxon bar lifts. Difference between those two, Euro and Flask are done to a crossbar. Saxon bar is done to a lockout. You also have 1-hand pinch lifts. Again, the Euro and the Flask can be used, and also pinch block can be used. Now, I will say that I jotted these notes down. There may be other 1-hand pinch lifts out there that I'm not thinking of. If you have any questions, then leave them in the comment section below. But I'll also say that Euro, Flask, Saxon bar, pinch block are the most commonly contested pinch events in grip sport. The third event, we're going with support. So think of support as a static lift where you're primarily testing finger strength, and you have 2-hand lifts and you have 1-hand lifts. So the 2-hand lifts would be Axel, Napalm's Nightmare with, oh, and I forgot to even put the Napalm's Nightmare variants in there for the 2-hand lifts on pinch. So stick those in there as well. So just a little backtrack there. I don't know why, I just wasn't thinking about those. For your support, you've got, you know, think of these as like your round handles, your rolling handles, your axle deadlift would be 2-hand, your 2-inch, 2 3/8 inch, Napalm's Nightmare would be 2-hand. For 1-hand variations, and again, we're going to a knock bar, crossbar setup with the 1-hand variations often in grip sport. Axle is, of course, to lock out. Most of the rolling handles are to the knock bar hitting a crossbar with a predetermined lift height. So you've got 2-inch Nightmare, 2 3/inch Nightmare, 2 3/8 inch Nightmare. You've got Crusher, Trilobite, all kinds of different rolling handles. So, you know, there's a lot to choose from there. I will say, I'll just take a break here. If you have a rolling handle, you want to check out the top 100 list that we have and see if the rolling handle you have is being tracked, because I would suggest, to bring more validity and recognition to your contest, try to select events where the equipment is actually being tracked. Otherwise, you're running a contest where all these excellent performances are going to take place, but we don't track every single event that comes out anymore. So use that as part of your selection process. Do I have some pinch block that someone welded up in their garage and I'm using that for the contest? Well, it might be a better idea to invest in a pinch block or some other implement that's actually being tracked. And I'll just say that on the pinch lifts, on the support lifts, we have two different structures that we use for the attempts. A lot of times you're going for your max lift inside 4 attempts, and you get your opener, then you go up a little bit, then you go up a little bit, and you go up a little bit. But if you miss, you can't drop down. So you always want to get on the board and then make sensible jumps so that you don't cause yourself a problem. Because let's say your max on the Euro is 200 pounds. You get on the board with 180 and you jump right to 200, but you've only done that a few times. Well, if you miss or if you cut yourself on the Euro and you don't get that second lift, then you're going to have to try that lift again. And you've already passed 185, 190, 195, and those could have been better selections for your lifts. So on a structure where you're getting 4 attempts to lift your max weight, you don't want to make too big of jumps. You don't want to make too big of jumps on last man standing either, because you could end up missing and then you only get like 2 attempts. So, you know, you have to take that into consideration as well when you're running a contest, because some people may only have experience with the 4 attempts for a max weight and may not have experience with last man standing. It may seem a little foreign to them, and they may not understand the strategy that's involved. Okay, so next, so we've covered the main 3 disciplines of grip. So what's left? Generally, the 4th event, if we're going to try to lift like a max amount of weight, then we're going to do some kind of a wrist exercise that involves deviation. So deviation is where your wrist is either moving like this, or you're in that deviated position and you're holding it. Okay, so those are the most common wrist type of events. To go over some names of events, to give you examples: sledge levering, sledge choke, pickaxe lift, and weaver stick are just 4 events that I thought of that test wrist strength. There's also wrist roller, but that is something where the roller is mounted on something and then it's got a cable attached to it, and usually there's a sled way out in front of you. You got to roll the wrist roller, and the cable winds up on the wrist roller as you're turning the wrist roller. So that is an event we do not track. It has made appearances at several of the contests that I've run, as far as United States Championships and North American Championships, and it's a very exciting event. However, you got 1 chance at that. That's it. So if you select that as an event, you could potentially hinder someone's performance because they haven't trained on it. They don't know what to expect. So that's something that you want to take into consideration when you're selecting events as well. A lot of times there is no wrist event at a grip contest, and instead the 4th event is a vertical support lift. So a vertical support lift would be little bighorn, jug, hilt, grandfather clock, handshake, all of these things where you're reaching down and your hand is in this position. So you're in a wrist, an ulnar deviated position. You've got to grip the implement and lift it to a knock bar or lockout in some cases. But generally in grip sport, those lifts are done to a crossbar. So that 4th event of the wrist lifts and the wrist roller and the vertical support lifts, those kind of all go together. So you don't normally see a wrist event and a vertical event in the same contest. Usually a selection is made between those two subcategories for the fourth event. And those are usually done, they can be done for a max lift in 4 attempts, or they can be done last man standing style, no problem. Either one is perfectly fine. It's just the strategy is a little bit different for both of them. Now, if you're gonna run a 5th event, a lot of times it comes down to either being a medley, and a medley is multiple challenges that are you're attempting to complete as many challenges as possible in a given time limit. So you might have 10, 20, even 40 or 50 implements that are scattered out throughout the competition area, and you've got to either go lift them to lockout, you got to put them onto a platform, it's a gripper that you have to close, you know, any number of things. And that's really just up to the imagination of the promoter and the events that they have at their disposal. This is where you see people lifting blobs, where you see them picking up inch dumbbells, bending a steel bar, things along those lines, because bending is not contested in grip sport very much ever anymore. It certainly can be contested, but it is not common at all. Generally, bending is done, and it's approached as its own sport, and that's done separately. So like I said, the 5th event is either medley or what we call an oddball event. So it's something where it doesn't really fit into any of these other categories, and it's kind of a catch-all type of category. So I'm not trying to necessarily disparage any of the lifts that are in here by calling them oddball events. Really, that's just what I've heard it referred to many times in the past, both not just by me, but by other people as well. This is where you could run a key pinch event, such as the finish ball, which is being contested in King Kong 2024 again. It might be where you would have a hub style lift, whether it's Iron Mine hub, Grip Genie hub, a moon top, glob top, something along those lines. If you were going to do like a loadable blob, that might fit into this category. Even though it's also pinch, it's not a standard pinch event, so you could stick something like that in there at the end. Another type of lift that I wrote down that you could stick in there if you wanted a 5th event would be like a hold for time or maximal reps in a time limit. So I recall that one year at the Global Grip Challenge, one of the last events, maybe not the last event, I'm not sure, was a Rolling Thunder face-off. So there was 2 people lifting at the same time with the same amount of weight, and each of them were trying to get as many reps as possible in, I think, a 60-second time limit. You could also do, I remember in the first ever contest that I did, one of the last events was a farmer's hold for time. I've also run competitions where we had a challenge event where we lifted the inch dumbbell onto as high of a platform as possible. So you can see where this kind of fits into like almost like a miscellaneous challenge type of event, oddball. Maybe it's when I did the inch for height in that one particular contest, it was really just to introduce something fun and different into grip sport that hadn't been done before. And I think it went over really well. And, it's not tracked, but it's a good way to compare performance on inch dumbbells to see how high people can lift them up. Blob hold for time. I remember that we pinned that in at the end of a contest one time to, just try to see how long people could pick up blobs and hold them. The thing about max reps and holds for time is they do present little bit of a scoring challenge, because it's tough to really say, generally, if you're picking up heavier blobs or heavier inch, then that's going to beat a lighter, a performance that's maybe longer, but done with a lighter inch. But it's just not as straightforward. Like, it's really easy to say, that dude lifted 250 pounds on the Euro, and this other dude lifted 225. So that dude that lifted 250 is stronger than the guy that did 225. But the holds for time, that can get a little more hairy, because is it tougher to hold a 150 pound inch for a minute or an inch dumbbell for 20 seconds? Both of those are very impressive feats of strength. So when you're selecting a contest, you got a lot of things to consider, and this is what's probably going to wrap up the video. The amount of energy it takes to perform the lift. It takes more energy to close a gripper than just pick something up. And when you have done an event where you've got to pick something up and then close a gripper, it's really going to affect your performance more than if you do the gripper first and then go to the lifts. How common are the implements that you have? Do people have the implements that you have, or something really similar, so that they can strive to prepare as accurately as possible for the contest that you're running? You need to take that into consideration. And then, how tough is it going to be to score these events? Do you have to reinvent the system and figure out how to score this to make it make sense with the rest of the competition? Does it fit well? These are all questions that we hopefully are answering in this video to help you out. Again, like I said, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I will address them there, and then that way, if anybody ever goes down through the comments, they can benefit from the information as well. But and that will also help with my channel engagement. But feel free to send me the email as well. I can tell you that asking me a question through email doesn't do anything for my videos. So if you want to support the channel, put something in the comment section. Also, give the video a like. Naturally, if you haven't subscribed yet, I would love to have you as a subscriber and get the notifications so that you're informed the next time I put up a video that's like this. And don't be afraid to share it around. So if you have other people in your little group that you're trying to foster this group of information, foster this group in your community, and try to help them with good quality information, to make sure that they see this video as well, so that it can help them. I think that's it. I'm sure the video is about 20 minutes long by now, so we'll get this one out of here. Give it one of these. Be sure to subscribe, comments below, and all the best in your training.